Hey and welcome to Neverwinter with Argon. So we have somewhat of new content. We can go and queue up into the trial, Demogorgon. It has been reworked, now requires an item level of 40,000, but I still wouldn't recommend going into that trial if you've only just reached 40,000. You still want to have a character with a decent gear setup and enchantments and things like that. You want to at least be able to fulfill your role adequately. Now, unfortunately, as you can see, we will be scaled down. We will be scaled down to 48,000, meaning it can't necessarily be too much affected by power creep. So those people who have paid to get all their mythic insignias are now at 60,000 item level won't be too much more of an advantage than somebody who has the same gear and stuff but just doesn't have, let's say, all of those things upgraded right there with mythic collars and insignias and so on. Now with this Demogorgon Trial, we can of course get the new Demogorgon set, which you can view within the collections here. We have the Demogorgon's Reach, and in epic equipment we have the neck and the waist piece there. Whether or not it's the best for DPS, that will depend on what class you are. Hunters with their action point spam will absolutely still want to be sticking with the music box set. A few other DPS characters who just want a lot of burst damage, Tourist set is also still good. However, for DPS with more consistent damage, let's say like barbarians or fighters or even warlocks, they're probably better off with this new set than any other right now, especially with that increase to item level as well. That's pretty neat. The artifact's something that most people will want to look for, since you can see when we go and actually upgrade this artifact to mythic, it will give a hefty chunk of item level. But again, keep in mind, in scaled content, more item level won't necessarily mean more power. You ideally want those percentages. Now you can see with some footage here, we went and jumped in and I was kind of blind, but I do know some of the mechanics from the previous version and not a whole lot has changed other than the damage has been increased, and you may note that the portals now have to be destroyed by pure damage rather than interacting with them. So it will not be the job of the healer or the tank to be doing that whatsoever. It's the DPS. You want to kill the portals quick enough before they spawn enemies. Now for the first part, where you'll have Demogorgon, he's immune to damage, you'll have the two tanks and ideally one healer on them. The healer will keep the tanks alive, and you'll have the tanks taking turns. You can see I'm the tank here right now, and I'm getting hit and I'm getting smashed, and I'm hoping that the other tank is going to switch at the right time. You can see I'm keeping an eye on my stacks, and at some point I've learned that it's the imposing gaze debuff that you have to keep aware of as a tank. It's much like Tower of the Mad Mage, where you'll receive those annihilate stacks, and the more you receive, the more damage you will take from Demogorgon's hits. Well, actually everybody's hits, so keep in mind of that. So once you've hit 2 stacks of imposing gaze, you need the other tank to take the aggro from Demogorgon, and you keep switching like that. When you don't have the aggro, you go behind the boss and try not get hit and make sure those stacks expire, and when they do, it should be timed enough so that you can take the aggro just when the other tank has 2 stacks. And you'll have one healer keeping you alive, while the other healer, like I was running here in this run as a paladin healer, you just keep everybody else alive, all the DPS who occasionally might get hit by a mob that has spawned from a portal that people didn't kill quick enough, or you'll just have that rotting where people will take damage over time and will need a heal every now and again. So otherwise the mechanics are fairly simple. You'll go into the second phase where you'll just have to fight Garistro. There's the same thing with the different portals, and he'll rush somebody. You don't really need to pay attention to that at all, but the mechanic is, don't put him into a dark circle because he'll heal. You want to put him towards a light circle. But you can see we never do that. And the reason is, if your party has a lot of damage, you can just shoot him towards the door, and many ranged DPS will still be able to deal lots of damage to him. And that way, you can end up dealing more damage to him by putting him towards the door than if you were to put him towards the light circle. As for his mechanics, that's it really. He doesn't deal much damage whatsoever. Tanks shouldn't have a problem with him. Just make sure when Demogorgon attaches a big long purple line to you, you need to go to one of the sanity wells, and there you will cleanse that away from you. You will have the ongoing mechanics in Demogorgon where you will receive stacks of madness. If you receive 24 stacks of madness, you won't be able to do anything. You won't be able to use your at-wills, encounters, or your daily powers. All of those will become locked and you won't be able to do anything until you get to a sanity well. So now we move finally to Demogorgon himself, the final third phase. He will appear and you're going to have to kill him. Ideally you'll have up to 3 DPS designated still to kill those portals before they start spawning ads. The more ads you get, the more annoying the whole fight's going to be. Otherwise, the only challenging part is tanks switching aggro. Because if you don't switch when you get the 2 imposing gaze stacks, you'll receive a ton of damage and die. Killing Demogorgon is not too hard as long as tanks switch at the right time and DPS just kill portals. And that's it. We went and killed him and we got our rewards. We have our 2 chests there. You get one with the greater demonic key and you get one just for free. You can see I went and rerolled the first chest there, and my oh my, I got some good rewards at the beginning. I just rerolled and ended up with nothing. That's my luck. And no, I've did about 3 of these runs and still haven't obtained any pieces of the set. I assume the drop rate is probably about 5%, if not lower, for the entire set. So as of right now, hope you guys have fun with this trial. It's not really for random players. I wouldn't go to a random group. You ideally want to be somewhat coordinated. And otherwise, you should be okay. The more damage you have in the party, the easier, of course, things will go. So I'd like to give a massive thank you to all of my channel members for helping me keep my channel going. And if I presented this well, consider leaving the video a like. And if you're new around here, consider subscribing. See you guys around. Goodbye for now.